Hey guys, this is Kerry, and in this video we're going to be answering question 2C to explain at least one beneficial effect and at least one harmful effect that the computing innovation we've chosen has had or has the potential to have on society, economy, or culture. Alright, so key pieces. At least one beneficial effect, at least one harmful effect that the computing innovation, in my case, this is going to be Zoom, so just highlighting that for myself, has had or has the potential to have on society, economy, or culture. Now, there's a couple of important things to think about here. So if you look at the rubric, which is linked at the top of this document, and you look at the example project that's linked at the top of this document, the rubric is actually really helpful in this case. So we're going to get 1 point for identifying one effect, just any effect. We don't even have to state, it says here, if it's beneficial or harmful for this point. But row 4 says we need to have two different effects. We need to have, in question 2C, we need to have a beneficial effect and a harmful effect. So we get 1 point for one effect. If we have a beneficial and harmful effect, we get a second point from this row. Each row is either a full point or 0 points. And then also we need to explain how one of these effects relates to society, economy, or culture. And those words are included in the question as well. All right, so I think actually a nice place to begin with this, if you know or have some familiarity with your project, with your computing innovation, is to actually just like try to brainstorm some ideas here. So we want one beneficial effect and one harmful effect. Now the place where my brain immediately goes is for beneficial effects, I might think, okay, well, Zoom allows people beneficial effects to communicate remotely. And I'm illustrating here actually a big mistake. So one of the things that the AP exam really highlights is the difference between a purpose and an effect. So we do not get the point if we identified the purpose of the computing innovation instead of an effect of the computing innovation. So in this case, the purpose of Zoom is to communicate remotely. So this is actually a purpose, not an effect. And so if I include this as my beneficial effect, I will not get the full point here. I will not get any points here. So I'm going to make sure to, let's see, strike through that. Oh, nope, that's not how you strike through something. I don't know how to strike through it, so maybe I'll just turn it red because that's not what I want to be doing. Oh, now everything is red. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I'll just highlight this part and make it red. So we don't actually want to do that. All right, so what would be a beneficial effect? Well, one place my brain goes is, right, an effect of Zoom making it possible for people to communicate remotely would be during social distancing, Zoom has allowed people to continue to socialize from a distance with friends/family, and also has allowed people to work remotely so that they do not expose themselves to the COVID-19 virus unnecessarily. All right, now this is really tied into the idea of the purpose of Zoom, but this is really an effect of Zoom because we're extrapolating from the purpose and we're talking about specifically with regard to COVID-19. An effect of Zoom is that Zoom has made it easier to navigate social distancing. And that's definitely not what Zoom was designed to do, but it's something that Zoom has served the role of filling in society. So I would say that this is, and I'm going to try to identify this, and I think it's useful for you to do as well. This is a social effect and also an economic effect. And I'm using the words here because an economic effect of this, right, is that many businesses that might have been shut down or might not have been able to continue working were able to continue working because of Zoom, and that like propped up the economy during a challenging time. All right, now we can keep listing out beneficial effects. So maybe remote school would be a beneficial effect. I mean, I know things have changed a bit. Remote education. I know for New York City we aren't allowed to use Zoom because of some of the security risk, but remote education on Zoom. There's a lot that kind of come to mind here as you start listing these out, and you really only need to get one good one. And I think I have one good one, but it pays, I think, to list them all out and spend some time doing that. If you're not so familiar with your device, then what you can do is you can look up things like positive effects of Zoom on Google or beneficial effects of Zoom. You can actually just use the words from the document. And then you can go through those and you can read them. Sometimes you'll need to log in to things, like here for this one, the Wall Street Journal, it wanted me to log in. If you don't have a login for these things, you can try to find different sources. I found a couple. I found one that was the New York Times that was really helpful, and that ended up being a danger one, a danger of Zoom. But you can just go through and read some of the articles and try to pick out, as you read those articles, what are some of the beneficial effects. Now, I'd recommend keeping all these articles open in their own tabs so you can easily refer to them as you're actually writing your answer. So I already did some of that research, and I think you'll probably have to do that a little bit too before you get started. All right, so now harmful effects. So harmful effects are actually a little bit challenging to identify, and what's important for both of these responses is that when we think about the effect of a computing device, the effect of a computing innovation is something that happens if it's used correctly. So an effect should be effects should be due to the device being used correctly, comma, with its intended purpose in mind. So the place where my brain immediately went when I thought of harmful effects was Zoom bombing. So people have been going into Zoom rooms and posting racist things or explicit things and interrupting meetings and screaming and doing crazy things like that. But Zoom bombing is not a good choice of harmful effect because this is actually more related to question 2D. This is a data privacy concern or a data security concern that's directly related to the innovation. So this is good for question 2D, but for question 2C, it is not good because the device is not being used correctly. It is not an effective because it is not an effect of the device being used correctly. So now, how do I come up with a harmful effect? Well, it's a similar process for what we did before with the beneficial effects, where sometimes it's going to be something that you have in mind immediately, and sometimes it's going to be something that you need to research. So in my case, I was thinking some of the harmful effects might be Zoom may, let's see, the format of Zoom creates a harmful effect for how education is delivered because it is usually teacher-centered and hard to have students directly interact with each other. That's not the best one, I don't think. I think we can continue to think of some more harmful effects. A harmful effect of Zoom, oh, here we go, here's a good one. A harmful effect of Zoom is that it makes international business easier, which doesn't seem harmful, right? But might cause jobs which would usually go to Americans to go to individuals from other countries. And that could be argued to be a beneficial or a harmful effect, right? You could think, okay, well, maybe it's beneficial because it creates a stronger international economy. maybe it's harmful because money that would be used to pay somebody from the US is being paid to pay somebody from another country, and that's money that's leaving our country to go to a different country. And if Zoom didn't exist, if it was hard to communicate across borders, then that job would have been filled by somebody from the US. All right, these are hard to come up with off the top of your head. And so what you might have to do is you might actually have to go and you might have to look up harmful effects of Zoom and read through a bunch of these and try to get some ideas. Now, I'm not going to actually write out my full answers, and I might have to revise these, but I think I've got enough to start writing my answers. So I'm going to try to start writing my answers. So keeping in mind that we have this major distinction between purpose and effect, I'm actually going to start off with the purpose. The purpose of Zoom is, and I'm going to go back to my response from question 2a, is to make video communications frictionless. Make video communications frictionless. Now I'm going to cite this for article number 1, because that came from Zoom's mission statement, just like it did before. And a positive effect, notice I'm trying to use the vocabulary from the question, a positive effect of having frictionless communication is that recently we have been forced to rely more on more on remote communication as a society due to COVID-19. Zoom has enabled many companies to continue working despite the need for them to continue working remotely. It allows employees to meet and make key decisions for their companies. Without employees being exposed to the virus. And I probably want to include a citation for this. So I looked up a couple of sources and I found one here. Let's see, this one, it doesn't quite have to do with this, so maybe I'd find a different source for this, but I think I can work this source in that I found from CNBC. Let's see. A social effect, or sorry, I'm going to get to that in a second. This has created major economic effects. Zoom's popularity. Zoom's recent popularity due to remote working has caused the app to increase 30x year over year, and now I'm taking the language directly from the article here. And the app has been the top free app for iPhones in the US, United States, since March 18th. And the daily users part here, and daily users spiked to 200 million in March. The popularity of this app shows the great use it is having. And I want to cite this to be source 2, which I'll fill in a second. The popularity of this app shows the great use it is being put towards in enabling people to continue socializing and to allow businesses to remain functional in this economy. And that's going to be, I'm trying to highlight there the economy and social aspects to continue. And we'll cite that one too as well. All right, so now, even though it's not a direct quote, that's coming from this part of the article right here. So now we have to fill in our source for question 2, and our source is going to be using the example. It's going to be the link. So we go up and we grab the link, copy and paste. It's going to be Zoom video communication, or sorry, it's going to be the author. So the author in this case is Dane Evans. The title next, I think, right? Yeah, the title. So the title is, in this case, How Zoom Became So Popular During Social Distancing. Put the quotes, and then pretty paste Command-Shift-V to keep the formatting. We need to include the source. The source is going to be CNBC. The date viewed is going to be today's date. And all of this is just coming from the example one here. The date viewed is going to be 5/18/2020. And the date posted is going to be 5/24/2020. All right, so really important, guys, when you're thinking about your sources, it says here at least 2 of the sources must have been created after the end of the previous academic year. So the previous academic year was last school year. That ended 6/26/2019, sorry. And so you want to make sure that you find 2 sources that are written after that. And in my case, I've already got that because mine is super current eventy with Zoom and COVID-19. But if yours is less current eventy, then you would need to probably find these sources a little more carefully. I just recommend that you use Google. Nothing too fancy. All right, now I also have to write about the harmful effect, but I think this video is getting a bit long, so I could write a harmful effect of Zoom, ... So I also need to fill in this here, so maybe I'll highlight that so that I remember to come back to it, that source. But I think you guys have an idea for what you need to be doing here. Just make sure that you get all the points, so one effect, one beneficial and one harmful effect, and how these affect society, economy, or culture. To confirm that you've really answered the question, you can go and take a look at the example response here to question 2C and read through it and see how yours parallels with it. You'll notice that they're using the same type of in-text citation that we are, and I think that that will be really useful. All right, guys, I hope you found this video helpful. In our next class, we're going to look at question 2D, which will be the final question for your AP exam, and then we'll talk about how you submit it. All right, guys, good luck with question 2C, and talk to you later.